Faster than a fraudulent performance measure, stronger than a misplaced decimal point, able to leap complex compliance requirements at a single bound. It's Super Auditor! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Auditors Save the World, one audit project at a time, where we bring you thrilling tales of daring audits and brave financial reviews. Here, our heroes don't wear capes, but they do wield the power of empirical evidence. Brought to you by the pros at Yellowbook-CPE. In each episode, we interview those legendary auditors who have truly rescued the day. Stay tuned, listeners, because this is one story you won't want to miss. And folks, don't forget to subscribe to our show in your podcast app of choice. And now, here's your host, Lita Hart-Fanta.
From the windswept Great Plains comes a tale of bravery, integrity, and justice. A dynamic duo fighting for truth and the vulnerable, one audit at a time. Starring Joshua, the State Auditor of North Dakota. Armed with a sharp mind, unshakable resolve, and a utility belt of numbers and evidence, Joshua is here to shine a light on the shadows of wrongdoing. And by his side, the fearless and brilliant Allison. With unwavering determination and a keen eye for justice, she's the Robin to his Batman, ensuring no injustice goes unnoticed. Together, they work tirelessly as partners with the legislature, the press, and Health and Human Services, uncovering the truth and saving vulnerable children from abuse and mistreatment. No stone is left unturned in their mission to protect those who need it the most. So, citizen, prepare yourself for courage, action, and a fight for justice. These are the true heroes that prove that accountability and teamwork can change lives. And now, let's dive into this week's adventure.
So my team is armed with a lot of the facts and the information, and
Oh, good.
so hopefully I do this justice, because the audit team they really did some amazing work with this engagement, and it's exciting to talk about some of the progress that has been made. I mean, we still have long ways to go here in North Dakota, but anytime you're talking about kids and abuse, this is something that needs greater awareness. So appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, was that your latest audit report? Because I just looked at that online. Child abuse cases, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Child Protective Services. And just to give you a little bit of background, I mean, when we first started looking at this back in 2015, this has been an ongoing issue within our audits for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And we will continue to pound this drum.
Good.
Because again, with the resources that North Dakota has, I think this is something that, like our Department of Transportation has. We have this thing called Vision Zero. A single fatality on the interstate is unacceptable. To me, a single case of child abuse or neglect,
Yes.
one is too many. And so I think there's plenty of room for improvement, and we want to make sure that we continue to raise awareness, to keep this on the forefront, because our children, that's our future. And if we aren't taking care of our future, then there's dire consequences to that.
Yeah. And you've been the state auditor since
2017, just got reelected.
Okay. Oh, congratulations.
Thanks. I know you can't see them over here. My team, they put some signs up in here, and one of them says, "You're stuck with us." I have another one that says, "You didn't lose." That's probably one of my favorite.
Well, that's the way an auditor talks, right? Well, so this was an issue for you, and it's an issue here in Texas too. There's always a lot of press around child abuse, foster care, not working. So this was brought up by your predecessor, you said in 2015, and then every year you're going back to Health and Human Services and following up on this.
Yes.
What's been going on?
The catalyst for all of this was in 2015 in Velva, North Dakota. We had a 5-year-old girl drown in a pool under the care of a child care facility whose license had expired. And so this really brought this issue kind of to our attention, and we have been looking into this ever since.
Okay.
And I know she just walked in the door, Leah, and she told me not to say anything, but we have probably one of the best performance auditors in the country, Allison Bader. She's our audit manager who does all this amazing work.
I know, Allison.
Hi, Lita.
She gets so mad at me when I do that, but
Thank you, Allison, for being there. Do you want to add anything to that, or she just walked in the door?
she just walked in the door. I invited her to kind of listen in,
Okay.
and then if I say something that's incorrect, I'm sure she'll probably good thing the video's not gonna be on because she'll probably throw something at me and be like, "Don't say that."
Is she the one that
Um,
gave you the sign that said you didn't lose? Is that
No, that wasn't her, but she does amazing things with her team, but never seems to want to be the one to step out in the limelight. I guess that's
here?
the typical auditor, right? They like working kind of in the background.
Here. Yeah.
But she's the brainchild behind all of this. She's the one that really puts her skills and her talents to work in identifying these areas. And so I like to give credit where credit is due, even though she doesn't want any publicity or any of the limelight. So I
Yeah.
got voluntold that I was doing this.
You're doing it. Okay. So you're the leader, but she's the true hero.
That'd be a good way to put
Yeah.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
She is the one here in the auditor's office really bringing this to life, doing the work. And
Yeah.
then she tells me I have to be the one to step in front of the cameras and
Nice.
explain everything. So that's where I'm nervous. I want to make sure I don't do any injustice to this amazing work that the team did.
Okay. Well, good. Well, you want to tell us what your recent audit results were? Like, what kind of things did you find on this recent project?
Well, the area that really stands out within the Department of Health and Human Services audit, and one of the findings that we uncovered was the response times for child abuse cases. So, to give a little background, here in North Dakota, our Department of Health and Human Services follows along with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services guidelines on those response times.
Okay.
And if it's a category A, the response time needs to be within 24 hours. And some of the areas underneath that is substantial risk of death. If there's sexual abuse where alleged perpetrator has access to the victim, if there's burns, fractures, or internal injuries of the child, there's malnutrition, a child with disabilities left with needs unmet, grossly inappropriate discipline, or there's a situation where there's immediately life-threatening. The policies within DHS and Child Protective Services, they need to have face-to-face contact within 24 hours with that child to make that assessment.
Okay.
And what our team identified is the average time was 13 days.
Oh, goodness.
If there's a category B, and there's the three categories, B is a shorter list, but it's identifying impending danger. And they need to respond within 3 days. And the average time that our team evaluated based on the data that we collected was 17, is what the department was averaging.
So 17 days is the average, which means that some of them are 30, 40 days.
2 weeks beyond what the time frame is that they should have.
Yeah.
And then we have response time C. That requires face-to-face contact within 14 days. And that's suspicion of maltreatment, or if there's no indication of present danger. And the average time that our team identified, that was 33 days.
Ooh, holy cow.
So there's obviously some room for improvement
Yeah.
in this area.
Yeah.
But overall, when we looked at, from our sample that we collected, 68% of those did not have the necessary checks on those children within the allowable timeframes.
Wow. So when you present this information to Health and Human Services, which you said you've been beating the drum for many years, what do they say is the reason behind these delayed response times?
And now, a word from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Yellowbook-CPE, the heroes behind the jumbo bundle of self-study courses. With a 1-year subscription, you get access to over 170 hours of top-notch CPE content. Dive into thrilling tales of agile, IT auditing, fraud, and internal controls. All courses carry NASBA's quality seal, so you know they've got the superpower of trustworthiness. Just click the link in the description to sign up. And now, back to our story.
What do they say is the reason behind these delayed response times?
Well, there's several different factors. I mean, this is a very complex issue, especially when you're dealing with the children. But some of those are turnover. Could be even unfilled positions.
Sure.
We have a lady in our office who actually used to work over the Department of Health and Human Services. She supported this area, and those folks who do this work, and this is, they're doing God's work out there.
Yeah.
But she said that they would have people quit because they just couldn't handle seeing any more dead babies.
Yeah. Very hard job.
And so you can only imagine the horrific things that these folks see, and these are very challenging positions. So
Right.
my guess is some of these challenges are, a lot of it has to do with maybe turnover, filling some of these positions, making sure that we've got the necessary resources. I also think that, there can be better cooperation between the social workers, the law enforcement, even clergy. We have a list of groups that are eligible to make that face-to-face contact. And so maybe better communication, better coordination with some of those different resources could be a huge help.
Yeah. So is this something that the legislature needs to act on? Because you're the state auditor. Is this something the legislature needs to do as far as giving them more resources so they got more boots on the ground? Or when you make your recommendations, are you pointing them at Health and Human Services, or are you pointing them at the legislature?
Well, the recommendations and the findings here are always directed at the agency. They are the client.
Okay.
They do have a responsibility for governance, and so does our North Dakota legislature. This last audit that we really identified, the resulting legislative session afterwards, there were 6 bills introduced, and all 6 of those passed. And so I think the legislature is becoming more and more aware.
Yeah.
Through our efforts, and they are looking at some of those resources and some of those legislative changes that might need to be made to improve on this DHHS policy.
What kind of bills were they? What kind of things did the bills say or address?
I think what they were looking at is maybe some additional FTEs,
Yeah.
maybe clarifying some of the responsibilities. They also, one of the things they did is they created these human service zones, making those areas a little bit broader so that additional resources could be shared. So really being able to reach out to other areas. If you've got a city and the caseload is exceptionally high, then maybe there's somebody else in a neighboring city that could provide that support. So trying to increase the access to some of those human resources to improve the time frame.
So how does Health and Human Services react to your findings?
In all cases, they've agreed with our findings. They've been very agreeable to our work. I think they understand the severity of this, and I'd like to say that we have a very good working relationship.
Great.
The audit manager here, Allison, she's got great working relationships with all of the staff over there at Health and Human Services, and we continue to look at this more partnership.
Yeah.
Using our skills and our abilities as the auditors to help aid their efforts to improve these services.
Because I'm sure the press gets a hold of your audit results.
They do. We have had some pretty good press coverage locally, statewide, and even nationally. We've had some attention on this, and I think that's really what's helped us over these last few years in moving the needle. Back in 2015, when we first did this, the auditor's office presented this information to our Legislative Audit and Fiscal Review Committee. That's the committee that we present our audit reports to. And we just didn't quite see enough movement there. And so we have steadily ramped up our communications to, in subsequent audits from that very first one, doing press releases,
Mhm.
not just letting the agency know and legislators know, but we really need to get the public aware.
Mhm.
And in our government, it's the citizens who have the authority, and they can also apply pressure
Mhm.
to make sure that elected officials at all levels are doing what they need to do with public resources
Mhm.
and protecting our greatest resource, which is our children.
Yeah. Well, how do you work with the press? What is your strategy for getting that necessary press attention?
We have very good relationships with our press here in North Dakota. We put out our press releases, and
Mhm.
it's kind of funny here. Recently, we didn't do a press release, and we actually got a call from a media um, outlet, and they said, "Well, next time if you're not going to do a press release, make sure you call us. We want to be made aware." So they do follow all of the information that we put out there,
Mhm.
and make sure that that information gets shared.
So, when you're in partnership with Health and Human Services, you're not blaming them. You're just highlighting issues that they're all aware of. You are communicating with the legislature who has the power to get them the extra resources. You're communicating with the press, and they are sharing this information with the citizens who are turning around and, I'm assuming, putting some pressure on the legislature. And that's how you're moving the needle. You're coming at it from multiple angles.
Yes, really an all the above approach. We're trying to leverage every avenue and every opportunity we can to
Mhm,
raise awareness on this issue here in the state of North Dakota. Again, I believe that
mhm,
here we have tremendous resources, and we've got great people, and we need
mhm,
to make sure that we can make sure that we're applying necessary pressures, whether it's ensuring that we provide the support to the staff, or if they need additional resources, that our legislature is aware
mhm.
that we need more people to look at this. And one of the things that we did identify through the COVID pandemic, a lot of these numbers in child abuse cases, they spiked. We saw these numbers
Sure.
go up drastically from previous years, and so we identified that it was a growing issue. And then through the pandemic, we saw some of these cases, for like our category A, we probably had around 150
Mm,
cases
mm.
uh, to in 2021 when the pandemic really started taking off. Those cases jumped over 300.
Oh, no.
So a tremendous workload impact on the staff who do this work,
Right.
and that's part of the pieces of information we wanted to make sure that we shared.
Well, have you announced another project with Health and Human Services, or are you just doing one as you do your annual plan? You just see them, they're on your radar every year, and you're going to see them again in the next cycle, obviously for follow up.
Yes, we will follow up on this, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that Allison and her team, that they have new areas that they're going to look at. She's got a lot of ideas
Mm-hmm.
that we continually to try to find ways that we can leverage our skills and talents to help them improve.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want to share all of those because like in sports, you don't want to telegraph your passes,
Right.
but the team is working on new areas and other opportunities. So
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, we will follow up on this. And to me, as a husband and a father, I want to make sure that this will continue being some part of our work and some of
Okay.
the audit testing that we do until we see that necessary improvement.
Well, what other subject matters are you looking at? I know you guys do financial audits of local governments. What other performance type work are you guys up to lately? Who else are you saving?
Yeah, well, one of the other neat things that we have done recently is we did an audit of the Department of Commerce, and we had some filmmakers
Oh, yeah.
who really expressed their frustrations over some of those grant processes. And so we evaluated grant procedures on how those funds were being handled. And what we found was the normal grant time frame for these department grants that they would issue was about 28 to like 80 days.
Mm,
And in this specific case, what we found was the way they handled this, which was a little bit faster. They they did this from the announcement to the selection in 10 days.
Ooh.
And so they really didn't offer some of those other filmmakers probably adequate time
Yeah, to apply.
to apply and be award, the opportunity to be awarded that contract. So some of those things that we've looked at also very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
But yeah, we have a lot of cool things. I know Allison could probably give me a list of a dozen here off top of her head that we've done lately. I know we have a medical auditor on staff, and with all of the medical facilities that we have, whether it's a state hospital, even DHHS, she's been doing some amazing things. In the past, we during COVID, we looked at the cold storage of the vaccines,
Okay. Wow.
and we evaluated how those vaccines were being managed, how they were being handled and tracked. That's also a very, very interesting audit that we did through the Department of Health before Health and Human Services here in North Dakota merged.
Okay.
But that was also another very interesting audit, and we did identify that some of their inventory management and even some of the storage of those vaccines were not being done properly.
Uh-oh. So some of the vaccines were not effective. Basically, they didn't work.
What they were saying is that it may reduce the efficacy of some of those vaccines if they're not stored at the proper temperatures, or if they're administered beyond the expiration date.
Great. What are the other projects? What are the kind of things you're doing? Because this is such great work that you guys are doing.
So another one that we worked on, sort of our state hospital,
Yeah.
we had a pharmaceutical objective where we were looking at how they were managing those the different types of drugs. Class 2, the opioid and class 2 drugs, and how those are being managed and administered.
Wow. Okay. Great. Wow. So y'all are really protecting the public's health with your work. That's a big theme of your work.
Very, very broad set of skills and responsibilities here at the auditor's office. Some of the things that I've learned over the last 8 years, I mean, I didn't know these were even issues, let alone, being in a position where we had the opportunity to help improve them.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Really, it's amazing.
It's a powerful job. And you're being trusted to tell the truth about all these issues. Does the legislature ever come to you and ask you to do specific things? Do they make requests?
Not necessarily. There are times when we have our legislative audit and fiscal review committee meetings that they may have questions and try to better understand some of those. Here in North Dakota, we have a citizen legislature, also a part-time legislature that meets every 2 years.
Okay.
But no, our door is always open, and if we have legislators that have
Great.
concerns, but as I'm sitting here thinking, I did have a legislator a couple weeks ago stop by, wanted to talk about occupational boards.
Okay. Like plumbers and electricians and things.
Yes, and some of the requirements for them to have some of the audits and the transparency.
How big is your performance audit staff? How many people are on your team?
Well, all of our state agency divisions, we have 3 of them, and I would say there's probably around 20 individuals
20?
within those
Okay.
3 teams. They are responsible for conducting audits on state agencies, and we have approximately 80 state agencies that we do on a biennial basis.
Oof.
They're the ones that perform those functions. Not all of those are performance audits. Some of
Right.
those are financial audits, especially when we look
Single audit, probably.
at single audit is one of those that they help out with, the annual comprehensive financial report. Some of our commodity groups that we look at, whether it's a milk marketing board or the wheat commission or some of these other type commodity groups, those are financial statement audits. So it's really a good mix between performance and financial. Our local government team, those are all financial statement audits. And then the other division that we have that doesn't get a lot of attention, North Dakota is an oil producing state.
Right.
And we have a mineral royalty division that is conducted under a federal grant. So any mineral extraction on federally leased lands, that division is doing compliance reviews to make sure that those companies are paying the federal government the proper royalties on any of those mineral extractions.
Wow.
The part about that division that I like most is if we know the federal share of those, we also know what the state share should be.
Yeah.
So we get a chance to work with the treasurer's office and the tax department to make sure that the state of North Dakota is collecting the proper amounts of those royalty payments.
Nice. And that's been a real boom for your economy, right? In the past 10 years?
It has.
Yeah.
Very significant to
Mm-hmm.
our state's financial resources. They've provided billions and billions of dollars to our bottom line.
And with those billions, did your staff size increase so they could get more coverage on these billions, or?
No, that's something that I continue to work with the legislature on. As we have seen state government grow considerably,
Mhm.
the auditor's office has not grown. And so that's something that we continue to work on that
Sure.
with them to try to get additional resources.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you get them because the work you're doing is so important to the citizens of the state.
We hope so too. I mean, it's to me, it's an informed and engaged citizen that helps maintain our
Mhm.
constitutional republic
Mhm.
and our form of government. And so I see my role as a state auditor is an educator, as someone who's out there.
Mm.
You know, we're shining a light in all the crevices. We're opening all the windows and doors.
Right.
And I am constantly trying to take the amazing work that our team does, like our audit manager Allison's team here, and make sure that we can communicate that clearly, concisely,
Mhm.
educate the people, educate our stakeholders, whether it's the agencies or the legislature, so that we can make government work better for everyone.
Well, that's a lovely ending. Thank you for doing what you do. And thank you to Allison there in the background.
She's pretty fantastic.
She is fantastic.
Thank you, brave listeners, for joining us on this adventure. We appreciate your loyalty. Take a moment to subscribe and share this podcast with all your audit allies. And don't miss out on Yellowbook-CPE's upcoming webinars. Because every superhero needs their training, and Yellowbook-CPE offers continuing education that's relevant, convenient, and as thrilling as the fight for justice. Until next time, audit on!